Has there ever really been anything in this world we have done by ourselves? Obviously, you watching this have gotten up in the morning, afternoon, or evening. You got up, made food, or ordered something, and did your usual routine for work or school or whatever activities. But that doesn't mean you did everything by yourself. Who made the place you're living in? Who grew the vegetables, fruits, meat, or grain that you eat? Who is helping provide electricity to your house, apartment, or car? What or who inspired you to get up and make food for you or for others? Why are you the one making breakfast or lunch or dinner? Is it a result of tradition? Is it cultural? Or is it influenced by finances, politics, or professional reasons, or something along those spectrums? This thought process is not to diminish your own worth or ability to do something. In fact, you put a lot of labor and love into this for sure. But without the labor and work of thousands of others every day, and historically, you wouldn't have anything today. People, whether by love or force or a combination of both, contribute to anything and everything that defines our world or your world. That idea holds true for tabletop gaming as well. The tropes, art styles, classes in your game, rules, and so much are the result of humans passing inspiration and ideas to each other. There's a world of inspiration in every book, even in games that I personally would not enjoy. So, when I finally took time to read through and play Worlds Without Number, I realized that this game is part of this long legacy of inspiration. It gave players and game masters light that would ignite their inspiration for their tables and set a course for a wide inspiration of games in its wake. Therefore, in this video, I'll be talking about Worlds Without Number, and more specifically, its impact not only on me, but for many other people who've played this game. So adventurers, grab your backpacks, settle your qualms, and light your torches, because we are paving a path of glory and adventure as we explore the wondrous impact of Worlds Without Number. Before I jump into Worlds Without Number and its impact, I need to talk about what this video is not. This is not a video or an essay about the mechanics of Worlds Without Number, or a deep dive on its resolution, its faction system, its character creation, or any specific mechanic. Obviously, I'll touch on them as necessary, but if you're looking for recommendations on running the game, character creation, or even some minutia, check down below in the description box for videos and my cheat sheet as well. Worlds Without Number is a fantasy role-playing game, one which is compatible with the hit sci-fi game Stars Without Number, as stated in Drive-Thru RPG. This is a D20 OSR game, and it is system neutral with a large variety of GM tools. In fact, similar to Stars Without Number, Worlds Without Number is known for its GM tools, and it's primarily used by many game masters and even some players and designers for that very reason. Kevin Crawford, the author, in the Kickstarter, states this as confirmation. I write every one of my games to be as useful as possible to as wide a range of readers as I can, whether or not they're going to use the system or the setting. The system neutral tools I design are built to generate actual playable content and smooth the rough edges of GM prep work for any game set in the same genre. I support and encourage game masters towards using the systems and setting they like best, so I have a large percentage of faithful customers who buy my books purely for their toolsets I provide within. To add, the game has a skill system that uses 2d6, while many other rolls like saving throws and attack rolls use a d20. The game combines old school principles from Traveler and Moldav D&D to create Worlds Without Number and subsequently any and every other Kevin Crawford game. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Kevin Crawford, the author of Worlds Without Number and many other games, also has a lot of experience making these games. For example, Worlds Without Number had an amazing Kickstarter back in 2021, with the original Kickstarter pledge goal being $40,000, and the pledge exceeding that with a total of $223,463 US. Similarly, the offset printing, which had a pledge of only $30,000, made over $108,000. So, similar to Stars Without Number, Worlds Without Number has a special place on the internet, and the finances are there to back it up as a successful product. Of course, I am only one game master. I want to do my due diligence and cover broadly what other reviewers and analysis have said about the game, since the release in 2021. Angel Citadel, in May 7, 2021, emphasizes that the print-on-demand book on DriveThru RPG is serviceable. Furthermore, the artwork can be used for both personal and commercial use as long as you provide appropriate crediting. Yet, Citadel did not enjoy the formatting, specifically that there were not a glossary for you to easily find tables and resources in the book, which, as someone who's used the book for my own OSR games, it's kind of difficult, especially as someone who's used to OSR games like DCC, which have a resource for that. David Skellektor from Streets and Sports emphasizes the game's unique qualities as well. It has shock mechanics in combat, system strain, and level caps, and many abilities even mitigate damage and strain to give the game an edge over its Pathfinder and Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition counterparts. It has a combination of being both deadly in early levels, while having the chance to be highly powerful in latter levels, something that Pathfinder and D&D 5e struggle with. There's also, similar to other old school games, a focus on Vancian magic, with magic having strange names and being very rarely used unless absolutely necessary. Cannibal Halfling Games, in their review in 2021, goes to extensive product differences between Worlds of Outnumber and Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. The blog emphasizes that unlike other Retro Clones, the characters have more mechanical depth. For example, foci and class-specific abilities and sturdier hit points, especially at higher levels, give way to higher levels of play. Yet the GM materials and approach to GM blow the DMG out of the water. Whereas the DMG in 5th edition is staggered with treasure tables, Worlds Without Number starts out with discussions on running a sandbox game and then expands outward to give GMs tools to deal with all sorts of scenarios. Ultimately, Cannibal Halfling Gaming emphasizes that these two games, while holding the title fantasy, appeal to different kinds of game masters and players to a certain degree. Thus, with these multiple reviews and its amazing Kickstarter, it shouldn't surprise anyone that Worlds Without Number is lauded as an excellent tool for game masters and for players interested in fantasy OSR games. While these reviews are nice, they don't tell the full picture of Worlds Without Number and specifically its impact. With that in mind, I think there are two reasons for this game's grandiose success, and the first is because of Kevin Crawford's strong legacy and writing in the OSR community. And secondly, the practicality and system-neutral tools that allow the game to be so flexible. Kevin Crawford has a strong legacy of creating competent, efficient, customer-focused sandbox OSR games. That's a lot of words to say he, quote-unquote, locked in when he realized that he wanted to get better at a specific skill. Crawford, in a Reddit post 7 years ago, was answering questions about his original game, Starts Without Number. I think the answer in this post really laid the foundation for Crawford's principles, practices, and inspiration when designing Starts Without Number and thus subsequent games like Worlds Without Number. The overall idea and goal for Starts Without Number was a game that was practical to facilitators run the game. Crawford writes, "There was no point in just writing D&D in space, since that was creatively trivial sort of thing to do. Because it needed some quality of its own, I just chose to make it focused on the sandbox sci-fi gaming, tools and resources to help a GM run such a game. From there on, it was just a matter of formulating the tools, putting them in place, and doing the grunt work of laying in the OSR-powered game system." End quote. And it wasn't intentional either for Crawford to become a prolific RPG writer. Crawford had a light bulb moment when seeing the profits of his project. He realized he didn't actually need his day job as a library assistant from the earnings of SWN and future projects. Yet, he kept working to make sure it wasn't a fluke. He goes on in an interview in the Betsy Current, stating, "In truth, I stumbled to writing games by accident. I wanted to practice using some book layout software for my own entertainment, and as I needed something to lay out, I wrote a role-playing game to fill the space." End quote. This is all to say that Kevin Crawford's work of Stars Without Number and subsequent future publications like Worlds Without Number and Cities Without Number and the newest game that's coming out, Ashes Without Number, are the result of his RPG interest, his background as library assistant, and just putting fingers to a keyboard and writing to improve his craft. He created Stars Without Number and Worlds Without Number in a market where game masters, especially OSR-minded gamers, needed a wide array of tools to help them run more fun and engaging games. On top of Kevin Crawford not only having writing skills, but being in the right time and place and interest, I think we also need to talk about the focus on the tools themselves. For instance, Game masters might like building a regional map for their OSR sandbox game. If you want, you can roll on a variety of tables made for creating terrain and other like objects. For example, here. You might have a nation, but no concrete society there for your world building. To do so, you can roll tables to determine focus on the physical appearance and values of society too. Maybe your players wanted to focus on religion as a core theme in this campaign. Maybe the society is a theocracy. Well, Worlds Outnumber has you covered with tables on religious construction. Tables like, why does this faith matter, and what is their societal function, give the game master a starting point without being too overwhelming. And that is only scratching some of this surface. There are tables on community tags, for a given adventure, tables on courts, wilderness encounters, combat challenge complications, crafting points of interest on hexes, creating investigative game challenges and social challenges, magic weapons, enhanced elixirs, monster shapes and appearances, and Jesus Christ, I gotta stop because I would be here for damn forever. I think you get the point. This game's tables feel endless, but that's the beauty. All of your creativity has a place in this game, and the tables are a way to fuel that. It's up to you as the facilitator or game master to do world building with your players or by yourself. That impact can definitely be seen in the community that Worlds of Outnumber has founded. For example, let's talk about character creation. The character creation has a lot of steps. In fact, it has over 19 steps. And maybe you don't want to spend time creating 10 plus characters if, say, you're bringing this game to a convention. Well, there is a nifty Google Sheet Worlds of Outnumber character generator. It even has separate sheets that show the various character tables and a list of spells in the base game. And to go a step further, maybe your game is online and you need a form fillable sheet for your Worlds of Outnumber campaign or one-shot. Well, look no further than here. Or who knows, maybe you're playing a game that's combined both Stars of Outnumber and Worlds of Outnumber into some sort of interesting hodgepodge Fantasy Star-like game. Well, if you are running something like that, there is a beautiful character sheet that combines both of the games over here. Now, in terms of tools, as the game master or facilitator, you might need some of those. So maybe you need something to help you craft the world since you don't want to look through the book. Fortunately, Chartertopia over here and this lovely link has rollable tables for Worlds of Outnumber and many of the tables. Yet, this Chartertopia page kinda is limited. It doesn't have everything, and I'm sure you're looking for everything synchronized into one singular website. Well, good news. Reddit user Jar Data made a website relatively recently since recording that includes every single table in the base game of Worlds of Outnumber. As Jar Data states in their website, I'm a huge fan of the random tables in this book. Most of them are system agnostic, and Crawford even encourages using the world building content for other systems. I created this website to make using these random tables simpler and faster, helping game masters focus on building fantastic worlds in RPG settings. While Jar Data's website is helpful, maybe you need something more specific. Maybe you're running a hex crawl. Fortunately, there's a random generator for populating your hex crawl. The website is simple and allows for you to copy and paste material with a simple refresh button and, well, copy and paste. Moving away from hex crawls and moving away from Jar Data's website, maybe you need something to simplify the game down. Maybe you don't want to go through, say, the free version, which is 352 pages, or the paid version, which is 401 pages, and read through all of the mechanics and rules. Fortunately, there is a mechanics overview that has a documents tab for reference, which means you can look through this 30-page overview. And I highly recommend picking it up, especially if you don't want to look through these huge tomes. Seriously, it can be really frustrating when you're trying to make a rule and you can't find it. Next, let's talk about virtual tabletop support. I found two options. One is Roll20 and the other is Foundry VTT. I can't speak on Foundry because I don't use it that much, but it certainly exists. And from the looks of it, it's updated on occasion, as the last time it's been updated was 5 or 6 months ago. As for Roll20, Worlds of Outnumber has this sleek yellow and black design. It looks professional, and many of the roles are easily pluggable. So you don't have to worry about inputting too much data or using a form fillable if you have Roll20. So I say go ahead and use VVTT on Roll20 since it looks more professional than some of the other stuff I've seen on Roll20. Yeah. If you don't want to use any of these VTTs, you can certainly use Discord and Theater of Mind. But it never hurts to have these options. And like I said, all these informations and link will be down below in the description box. Finally, this isn't including adventures. Worlds Without Number can be used with almost any old school adventure. You can pull from a plethora of BX adventures or OSR campaigns. But my personal favorite is the Pirates of Vethis. It is an introductory adventure that uses World Without Number rule set. It can be ran over several sessions and can be used as a way to start a campaign. While it might not be as flashy like other modules, it can be edited to specify what you want in your game. For example, you can add some cool wicked beasts and tweak the encounters as you see fit. Maybe you want it more deadly or less deadly. So overall, from adventures to tools to VTT support, there are a variety of useful resources for game masters and players to use. And that's amazing. All of this just through the work of one individual author. So many people have contributed to this game in meaningful and different ways. Tabletop games are meant to be community-based experiences. Whether it is a solo role-playing game, an OSR game, people's influence, ideas, contributions, and history are going to contribute to the gaming experience. Tabletop games cannot exist in isolation, and those experiences can show us how each group, player, game master, designer, or whoever can benefit from the experience. For some, like in Alan Barnett's master thesis, tabletop role-playing games allow people to explore alternative perspectives, identities, and outlooks dynamically without massive risk emotionally or physically to themselves or others. For others, tabletop games can have mental health benefits. Researchers in the Games for Health journal discuss the intersections of improving mental health in tabletop role-playing games. As stated by the researchers, 8 weeks of exposure to D&D was associated with significant reductions in depression, anxiety, and stress, and significant gains in self-esteem and self-efficacy. These improvements were maintained at a 1-month follow-up relative to baseline. The results add to a growing evidence base for the potential use of Dungeons & Dragons as a preventative or intervention tool to promote well-being. Moving past the mental health benefits now, tabletop gaming is also thriving. Piotr, in the Polish Sociological Review in Warsaw, studies the rise of third spaces for tabletop games. The researcher goes to Pittsburgh, USA, Seoul, South Korea, and Katowice, Poland, to observe the value derived from folks connecting while playing tabletop games in cafes and other third spaces. He notes that in these spaces, gamers establish connection through talk about games, and then these gamers, after several meetings, become regulars and thus establishing connections and loyalty. Piotr argues that tabletop gaming is thriving in social spaces despite the lackluster research that existed for the hobby, especially before the 2000s. But I'm sure you are probably wondering, how the hell does any of this have to do with Worlds Without Number? The connection is that Worlds Without Number can contribute to fostering community. Worlds Without Number is a microcosm of the beauty that can come from crafting practical tools for multiple gamers to enjoy, especially for generations. There are obvious social benefits and community that can come from tabletop gaming. I mean, you right now are a product of that community, whether you actively think about that or not. And I would even say for Worlds Without Number, the closest example are from the respective Reddit pages and Discord servers for Worlds Without Number, and most certainly the rest of Kevin Crawford's work. Whole entire communities, campaigns, modules, fan projects, and game sessions were started due to Kevin's work and the joy people got from it. That joy being so infectious, people created their own resources for their own games, not just for Worlds Without Number, but for other modules and other games entirely. The work of others builds off and bounces from each other. It is creativity harnessed and then utilized to craft joy into a world that feels extremely dim in this godforsaken political and economic climate. I think that is extremely powerful, even if it was unintentional. And you know what the kicker is? Crawford never intended to build a brand. He had the interest to improve his skills And after a successful project in 2010, he started franchising and growing his brand. And I'll be honest, I may be speaking out of turn, but at the heart of it sounds like passion. And that passion was fueled by the worlds he experienced playing games before and during the creation of Stars Without Number and eventually Worlds Without Number. Kevin states that the system inspiration for his games were Moldav Basic D&D and Traveler. It can be seen in the skill system, but also the lethality, and we already know that. But it's also interesting to look at the games that came out during Stars Without Number that he found keen interest in and might have inspired him a little bit. Some of those being Yoon's Sun, The Purple Land, and A Red and Pleasant Land, to name 2 examples from the Reddit page. And while I definitely don't care for some of the inspirations like Lamentations of the Flame Princess at all, I want to undercut that inspiration was taken in some way. So, I think the impact of Worlds Without Number is evident in just how extensive the community is, on top of how Kevin's tools can be used in all sorts of games, OSR and like. It is that boundless creativity that keeps me coming back to this fantasy OSR game time and time again. We are products of stories. Stories can have cautionary tales, messages, information, and feeling, all combined into writing, art, movies, music, and most certainly tabletop games. All of us in some way are connected to a story, whether it be from TikTok or a book, or something your grandmother, grandfather, or parental unit passed down. Stories make the world go around, whether you are in corporate America, a brand, or a student in Dubai, or an indie game dev living out in a digital space like itch.io. Stories, and furthermore, the worlds that are created from that, move us. And in these worlds, we can see ourselves in some shape, way, or form. We can see ourselves as powerful fighters, competent wizards, dexterous thieves, or terrible villains on the opposite end. It's because you have the tools, the dice, and the writing to facilitate those worlds that we're able to see ourselves in all those unique aspects. Worlds Without Number harnesses the wide diversity and application of stories and the worlds that they create to be a pen for any game dev, game master, or person interested in crafting an awesome world together. And for that reason, I can see why Worlds Without Number is a pleasant welcome in Kevin's work and the greater OSR community. With that in mind, there are so many worlds waiting for us, and there's no end to them. So let's get to adventuring. 1 3d6 down the line. And once you're done rolling your 3d6, why don't you check out this video over here that I made for Stars Without Number if you want to head over to the stars and see more of my work about Kevin Crawford's titular RPG. Last but not least, a special shout out to my Patreon supporters, Harrison Parker and Paul Volpe, for continued support. You too can support my work on Patreon and Ko-fi over here and over here. And last but not least, again, for you to like and subscribe as you see fit. That supports my channel in many more ways than you could possibly think. Seriously, it helps me out a lot. And as always, I'm your average everyday queer adventurer, Blurry Musician. You all have an awesome day. Ciao.